Welcome to Free Media, I'm Robby Soave.
And I'm Amber Duke.
Well, Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy are calling for an expansion of the H1-B visa program, fueling a fiery debate among Trump supporters. While Musk argues that Silicon Valley faces a critical shortage of top-tier engineers, Ramaswamy blames America's cultural complacency for stalling domestic innovation.
Ramaswamy, who is Indian American, wrote on X, "The reason top tech companies often hire foreign-born and first-generation engineers over Native Americans isn't because of an innate American IQ deficit. Our American culture has venerated mediocrity over excellence for way too long." And Musk added on X, "If you want your team to win the championship, you need to recruit top talent wherever they may be. That enables the whole team to win." Musk continued in another post on Thursday, "I am referring to bringing in via legal immigration the top 0.1% of engineering talent as being essential for America to keep winning."
Hardline immigration critics claim their stance clashes with the America First policies, exposing deep rifts over immigration and labor within Trump's base. Here's Steve Bannon calling the H-1B visa program a scam.
This whole thing about, we want to get all this and they're only geniuses, that's H-1B visas. That's not what it's about. It's about taking American jobs and bringing over essentially become indentured servants at lower wages. Like I told those guys in the room, hey, if you got an Einstein every 25 years, come to us. Maybe we can make an exception for Einstein. Maybe, if it's proven. The whole thing's a scam. This thing's a scam by the oligarchs in Silicon Valley to basically take jobs from American citizens, give them to what become indentured servants from foreign countries, and then pay them less. Simple. To let them into through the golden door.
And how is Trump responding to the debate? Well, he reportedly told the New York Post that he has, quote, always liked the visas.
Now, he clearly hasn't quite always liked the visas because he did previously come out against them. But here is this debate taking place. And by the way, I think debate is good and healthy. And it's good that this time around, Trump 2.0 is going to be more about disagreements between actual ideology and policy matters than like disagreements over like whether you think Trump is evil or whatever took place. And that's over with. Everyone in the Republican Party is on board with Trump. But now we're going to hammer out the disagreements on policy. And there are some disagreements here between my more tech libertarian side. And I would guess that you're a little bit more on the other side of this. So what's your case for what you want to see happen with this program?
I think Steve Bannon is right to call the program a scam. Right now, there are tons of exceptions that basically give carve-outs to a lot of these companies to effectively replace American workers. And the sort of fundamental conceit of the H-1B visa program is that we're bringing in the, quote, best and brightest. And in practice, I don't think that's really how it works. So a lot of companies will basically post job listings because you're required to prove, quote unquote, that you can't hire someone talented enough from the U.S. to fill a position before trying to hire someone through the H-1B process. They will effectively post fake job listings or post them in really remote parts of their website that no one can ever find. And then they'll throw up their hands and say, oh my gosh, we can't find anybody. And then they work through what are typically Indian, basically temp agencies that will help people fluff resumes, put fake experience, put fake educational achievements to then bring into the US and work for what is the minimum requirement for salary for an H-1B visa applicant. And then on top of that, you can't be bringing in the best and brightest when you're doing a lottery program. The H-1B visa is a lottery program. So you have, let's say, hundreds of thousands of applicants, mostly from India. It's like 90% from India when you look at the breakdown, like 5% from China. There's no European countries in the top 10 of H-1B visa recipients. So you put in hundreds of thousands and then maybe tens of thousands get it every year through a lottery program. Well, how is that fielding the best and brightest?
Yeah, look, I'm open to the idea that changes or improvements could be made to this. I don't love the idea of a lottery program, either though it's a lottery program among people who qualify for the program. I mean, what I dislike about the whole thing is the idea of some government bureaucrat somewhere saying, here are the the things you have to satisfy to qualify. Do you have the right educational experience? Are you asking for the exact right amount of money? Like, to my mind, and this is where we do disagree, I want, if a tech company says this is the right worker to work for this position, I want that to happen regardless of whether that's someone from India or China or America. And what I take very seriously is the idea to, you say we're not necessarily getting the cream of the crop, but if a company wants to bring, an engineer who works in a national security adjacent field to Silicon Valley, and that deprives the Chinese government or whoever it is of someone who's going to be effective to them, I think that's a good thing. Like, I'm nationalist enough to want America to be super successful in the tech category, and I want to make that as easy as possible.
Two of the problems that I have with this, in addition, are that, one, there are, according to census data, millions of Americans who have STEM degrees who are not working in the STEM industry, because in the H-1B visa program, I think the minimum salary right now is about $70,000, $80,000 a year. Let's say you hire an American graduate, they would expect $100,000 a year. So it is technically undercutting wages, even though it's a higher base salary than what you're looking at for probably most other immigrants who aren't on an H-1B or higher program. And then we also have an O-1 visa program, which is for exceptional people whose skills are not capable of being matched by Americans for whatever reason. The Elon Musks of the world,
right.
The geniuses, right? So the H-1B visa program is a lower tier program. So when you have all these people who are graduating in the maths and sciences and doing what they're supposed to do, going through programs that are supposed to lead to high-paying, good, stable jobs and helping with America's tech boom, but then they're being forced in some cases to even train their replacements, like a famous case out of Disney.
Yeah, everybody goes crazy over the train Europe. I mean, that's just kind of what happens in work if you get phased out. Sorry.
But if it's the best and brightest and they can't have, there's no American worker who can do the job, but then they're required to pass on the skills that they have to someone from an H-1B program, how could you possibly argue that that person is of the same quality as the American worker?
At the end of the day, I trust the innovators in the tech space to determine the needs they have for their industry more than some, Department of Labor bureaucrat deciding like, oh, well, since you have a degree and good recommendations, it's okay if you take an American job, but not you. And also, now I agree with you, the visas for the really exceptional Einstein-type people, although Bannon sounded skeptical about even letting Einstein into the country. I wonder why that is. The employment-based visas overall, the program, because it includes family members of people who qualify, they're also getting those same visas. So I just saw this statistic the other day. So like half of the visas going for these programs are actually not even going to people who are like the qualified immigrant labor we want, but they're family members because they're not going to immigrate here unless, spouse, children can come, et cetera. So it would be helpful to actually put them in a different category, and so that we were getting more of, if we're going to have this program, we want to actually be bringing in, we want to be spending it or using it on people who the tech sector thinks are going to benefit the industry. Look, you can always have, and I don't want to create a system where you have two pools of labor, the American or native-born labor pool that is subject to all sorts of restrictions that make it harder for them to compete in the job marketplace versus some other pool of labor that has different kind of incentives, and that's not good, but I would solve that by, getting more of these barriers to companies just employing the people they want out of the way. You can always raise the wages of some industry by doing things progressives want to do, minimum wage, other things, and, making it more difficult for companies to compete on the global marketplace. I tip the scales the other way.
Yeah, I guess for me, you'd have to think about the motivations of these people. Is it just to bring in these incredibly qualified workers that are somehow only available in India and not in any of the major European countries? Or is it also saving money, right? That's another huge motivation for them. And so I think part of the America First movement, if that's the posture that you're arguing from, is that you do want some level of protectionism to make sure that Americans are not being undercut by those individuals because the big tech companies want to bring in cheaper labor, which is effectively what this is. Yeah. So that's another problem I have with it. He also talked about the idea of indentured servitude, which I think if you are bringing in, again, the best and the brightest, one of the issues with the H-1B visa program is that it's tied to an employer. So if you were to want to change jobs, to get a raise by going somewhere else, you actually can't do that. You have to go home first and apply for a new H-1B visa with a different company. So it does allow a company to suppress wages for that singular employee because they're at the risk of their visa being revoked if they don't stay there.
Let's see, by the way, how MSNBC is covering this debate on the right.
America is a land of the free, home of the brave, all that good stuff that Elon Musk was tweeting about. However, please don't come for Americans. And I would like, let's be very clear, I would like white Americans to stand up. This is your calling card, honey. Where's your banner? Because they coming for you. They said y'all white and lazy. That's crazy.
Well,
that's crazy.
what I find is interesting.
Y'all would be coming for me.
Well,
I would never say that because that's insane.
That's the point. What you have happening here is the very thing that white folks have said about black people.
I'm sorry. I just want to know, Vivek was born in the U.S.
For generations. Vivek is now saying about white people, and they don't like it for some reason. Oh, y'all not lazy. Y'all not slow. Y'all not stupid. Well, that's what we've been saying for 400 years, and yet here we are. You still want to not read our history or go through our CRTs and all this
This is
stuff.
why the great Reverend Jesse Jackson talked about the Rainbow Coalition, honey, and people were uniting across
That's
the
right.
working class, okay?
I expect their ratings to recover any moment now. Now, I agree, as I said, more with Vivek Ramaswamy and Elon Musk on this issue. I did not exactly agree with the way he framed this whole argument, the kind of... It's not totally wrong to say there's too much like mediocrity, for instance, in the American school system, which we probably agree is broken in so many ways, despite all of the spending on education, our failing public education system, not succeeding at producing young people who have basic reading and math abilities, those levels, getting no better over time despite more spending on education. So I think there's American institutions that deserve a lot of scrutiny and criticism. I don't really think he pointed to like Saved by the Bell and Boy Meets World as like cultural things that are preaching mediocrity. That seemed a little bit out there to me. And also I don't want to have a, individuality and perseverance and those kinds of resiliency, even if it's, not measurable on a test. Like we don't want a nation just of automatons who, succeed wildly on standardized tests but are not don't have other aspects. I mean, which I'm not, accusing Indians or Chinese of being, but you can get too trapped in the mode of just thinking everyone should be succeeding on objective math, science testing and miss something there. Does that make sense?
No, totally. Because his post that you're talking about, he was basically deriding America's elevation of jock culture, as he called it, over nerd culture. And he went into this really long rant about how we need to emphasize people being nerds and basically being achievement bots that work 80 hours a week and they're just obsessed with the grind. And that's fundamentally not American culture to me. I mean, part of American culture is that you have hard work, you have people who take purpose in their jobs, yes, but there's also elements of leisure that are important, sports, recreation, all of those things shouldn't be discounted just because they're technically for having fun as opposed to just working. I think those two things combined are actually what makes America so great, is that people take pride in work, but they also enjoy spending time with their family or watching sports or playing sports, and having both of those things combined, because you get the hard skills through work and labor and education, but there's a lot of soft skills that I think he's missing that make people actually good humans.
We are a melting pot of jocks and nerds. That alliance is part of what makes America great. Because if you think about it, there's so many skills that go into building a successful institution or a successful company. Oftentimes it is the founder with like a unique drive who can excel and succeed in all these fronts, like an Elon Musk type person. But in some successful firms or innovations, right, you have the very tech-minded people who understand the science, but then you need to pair that with a business mind, a creative mind in terms of comms and strategy and things like that. So it kind of takes all pieces, and I want an America where there are rooms for all those different kinds of visions without just turning us all into, what would you say, achievement bots?
Yeah.
I like that.
Thanks.
I like that terminology. Well, stick around. We'll be back with more free media. And guess what? We're getting our own channel, remaining, of course, a part of the great Reason magazine. But that YouTube channel link, instead of reading it out to you or spelling it out to you like some boomer, I think it's just going to be linked below in the comments. Check that out. Please subscribe to our new channel. You're going to still get all the same content and then some. We might be doing some expanding in the new year. Stick around. Talk to you soon.